they really have the online virtual education, strong academics, strong teaching model down. What I love about Stride is not only the disruption of education, providing online tech resources, they still care about students getting a great education. And that's been me.
The motivation point of view, I know those points where parents want to subscribe to such schools because their child doesn't feel a good fit in the regular traditional schools.
Strong academics, math, reading, writing, science, social studies is what kids need. Kids are prosperous when they can read and write. And I think we forget that sometimes in today's.
Because they don't have a physical space. Like, I sometimes believe that adults are the most difficult. Hello, my fellow school leaders. I'm Avinash Bansal, co-founder at TomoClub. And today on our TomoClub podcast series, we have Brad Scott. He works with Stride, and under Stride, they manages multiple online charter schools. One of them is Careless Academy as well. And today's topic of discussion is about academic models, which are definitely right now a lot many because of parent choice has been one of the trendiest discussion in the K-12 space. And our discussion is today is not just about online versus brick and mortar, but it's also to deconstruct how an academic model can be more effective regardless of the setting. So I would love to explore the unique journey of Brad from public policy to public education to virtual schools now. So welcome to the show, Brad.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So Brad, before we jump in, I always ask my guests if they can give us a snapshot of their educational journey and what got them into education in the first place. And is that reason still valid after so many years?
Absolutely. So I currently live in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where I'm a native. I was born and raised Chattanooga. Love the city. Went away for a while. So I went to the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. Go Vols for any football fans out there. Tennessee's had great last two games. Hopefully we can keep that up this Saturday against Georgia. So graduated from the University of Tennessee in Knoxville with a degree in political science. I thought I was going to be an attorney. I got accepted into law school. Had planned to be a lawyer. My dream was to be in DC, working around education policy. Had a love for politics and public service. But that road turned when I went to a Teach for America recruiting session on campus, watched the movie, famous movie. I'm sure a lot of your listeners have saw the movie Waiting for Superman. And it really tugged to my heart because I was one of those students. I was a first generation college student in my family, and education definitely was my pathway to a better life. And without college, without teachers, coaches, I was an athlete growing up. I played sports, middle school, was around coaches and athletes my entire life. And if it weren't for those role models and teachers to giving back, I would not be here today. So watching Waiting for Superman, I really felt the tug to want to go into education. So I signed up. I applied for Teach for America. Didn't know where if I was going to get in. Didn't know where I wanted to go. I clicked the box, send me where you need me, and was accepted and was assigned to the Rio Grande Valley in Texas. It's the southernmost point in the state of Texas, right on the border. My apartment was 5 minutes from the Mexican border. The valley, which is known as the Rio Grande Valley, is one of the hardest areas in the country in education because you get so many students coming across the border, migrant children, immigrant children, speaking two different languages. No, most only know one language, high level of poverty, one of the most impoverished areas in the nation. And that's where I was at. I worked for Idea Public Schools. I started as a teacher, high school teacher. I was a basketball coach, which to this day, coaching middle school basketball has been my favorite job in education. I hope to go back to that one day. I was a teacher and quickly rose to be a leader. My principal at the time, Jose Luis de Leon, who's still a role model to me, he was really my mentor to make me want to go into education. I'm a big believer in mentors in any profession out there, and Mr. de Leon was my mentor and really inspired me to go into school leadership because I wanted to make a broader impact on children and kids. And I really believe education is a pathway for children. And all families in America, no matter what your zip code is, deserves an excellent education, access to an excellent education. So I went to Columbia University in New York. Teachers College, got my degree in ed and leadership. Really love Teachers College, just the network there. Dr. Perkins was my advisor and still a mentor today. I'm still very involved in Teachers College. Summer Principals Academy is the name of the program I did. And through that, inspired me more to be a school leader. So I continued with Idea Public Schools. I was an assistant principal, went through their principal residency program. I met my wife in the Valley, who's Aseneth, who's from South Texas as well. She's also an educator. We have two boys, Ethan and Nathan. She was a teacher for Idea Public Schools as well. Then I become a founding principal for Idea. I opened a micro school with a partnership with a professional soccer team in the Valley, RGFC Toros. We opened a soccer school for middle school, high school students who travel, play in academy soccer. We sent a teacher with them. They continued their education. We partner with Summit Public Schools. They're in California. They used a mobile platform and were able to continue to get a college going education playing soccer at the same time. We moved, long story short, we moved back to Chattanooga about 5.5 years ago. I took on a leadership position with Chattanooga Prep. Uh, it was just at sixth grade at the time. I came in at the end of the founding year, and Chat Prep was an all boys charter school in Chattanooga, founded by two business entrepreneurs here in Chattanooga, and really loved the model, having a boys' education, going education. We use high academics, sports, brotherhood model, mentorship model, surrounded by supported teachers and various people in the community to provide a college going education. So I left that role about a year ago now to pursue other opportunities in ed tech, and I currently work for Stride. Specifically with Careless Online Academy. I'm a principal academic administrator for grades K through 8. I love being a principal. I love working directly with teachers and students. And my entire careers have been about disrupting education, whether it be the soccer model school, charter schools, all boys schools, now virtual schools. I believe education in America needs disrupting. I'm a big advocate of school choice. I believe parents should have choice in their education. The market drives change, and education needs to be a part of that as well. So here I am today. I one day at a time, but really love seeing innovative models in education.
Wow. No, you definitely know how to paint a picture because while you were sharing, I literally was having a mind map in my head going on of your journey, which is insane and so amazing because you have seen so many different series, so many different type of education network that I think you'll be a perfect person now working for Stride. Because you can bring in so different type of diverse thoughts, and that's what exactly is needed if somebody is trying to disrupt. So before I venture in into anything else, can you please give us a little bit more information about Stride? What's their model? How do they work? And how everything goes around that?
Yeah, Stride is a nationwide for-profit operator of virtual schools. There are about 30 states throughout the country, about 220,000 students. They operate everything from the online platforms to staffing, supporting a school model in every way possible. They're really at the cutting edge of online education. I know there's other virtual schools out there, but Stride's been around now for over a decade or more. And um, they really have the online virtual education, strong academics, strong teaching model down. And what I love about Stride is not only the disruption of education, providing online tech resources, they still care about students getting a great education. And that's been me throughout my journey. I've always been about strong academics, math, reading, writing, science, social studies is what kids need. Kids kids are prosperous when they can read and write. And I think we forget that sometimes in today's education model. And so Stride still believes in strong academics for kids. And I get to do what I love, which is really coach teachers, provide excellent academics for kids in an innovative environment. So you see Stride doing that nationwide, everywhere from Texas, California, Arkansas, and of course, I'm in South Carolina. We Careless Online Academy has been around for about 3 years now. We have about 2,000 students, grades K through 12. We have an executive director, Pam Seeger, who's amazing, excellent leader. We were really close together as a team. My role specifically is being a principal for grades K through 8. The virtual environment is different. I'm used to being in the hallways, uh, going to the teacher's classroom, seeing students write. So, doing that from a virtual environment has definitely been a shift, but it's been a good shift. And we still ensure that kids are getting a good education every single day.
That's actually very interesting. But I want to understand, um, did Stride take over the academy's operations, or like did the school always existed before Stride came in, or did the Stride open it up?
Stride opened it up. Stride partner with the board. Careless Online Academy is a public charter school operated by the Public Charter School District of South Carolina. That's the authorizer.
Yeah.
So the from the beginning, the board, the charter had the operations connected with Stride. So Stride opened up the school
Because that
in partnership with the board and South Carolina School District.
because 3 years and 2,000 students is unheard of. At least I haven't heard of it. So
Yeah, and that's a small population compared to a lot of other schools. I think the
exactly.
Texas school has close to 20,000 students. So our school's a lot smaller than a lot of others, but we're growing. We're really focused. Our team's really focused on excellent academic outcomes this year, and we're going to continue to grow and continue offering this for our kids because a lot of our families they want this option. They want a virtual, flexible option for their children for many different reasons. So why should they not have that? And if they're choosing that, it's our role as educators to provide them an excellent academic environment, and that's what we're doing at Careless.
No, that's interesting. So just one thing I want to understand, does the parents subscribe to Stride or they subscribe to Careless Academy? Like how does the branding works or the marketing works to the parents?
Stride. So Careless Online Academy is the school name operated by Stride K12. K12's the branding. So if you go to Careless's website, carelessonlineacademy.org, you'll see the school branding and operated by Stride K12. So it's
Right.
everything, the interfaces. We use Canvas as our online platform. Everything is Stride branding.
Perfect. No,
It's a
that
Stride operated
yeah.
school.
No, that definitely clears a lot of things out
Yeah.
because like you have worked in public schools, offline schools, uh, youth ministries. I saw multiple things that you worked upon. So, first thing I want to understand is, in your opinion, the major differences, both good and bad, we can be candid, of online versus brick and mortar.
I think the biggest difference I have seen is how you interact with people. Definitely, I'm an extrovert. I like being face to face with people. That's one of my strengths is just talking to people, reading body. I can read body language very well with people when I'm in person. Being in an online environment is very different, and that's been a challenge have had. I'm used to being in classrooms, talking to students in the hallway. If I need to talk to a parent, I invite them in, talk to them. Now everything's in the virtual environment. So that has definitely been a challenge, but I've really appreciated Stride's tools that they offer to be able to make those connections, continue those relationships in the virtual environment. An example of that is Stride offers a really cool platform called the K12 Zone. It's almost like a virtual playground for students, and students can go in and play various games. They can interact, they can do homework help and teach administrators can go in and interact with students. For example, I'm the chess coach for our school, so our students will be playing virtual chess in the K12 zone. So there's still those social interactions. I think another challenge has been testing. So we're still required by the state of South Carolina, in our case, to take state tests. The state tests are in person, even though our students all year long are virtual, they still have to go in person to take their exams. And that's a challenge because we have students all over the state of South Carolina, and we have to it's a massive operation. Kudos to our testing coordinator because it's one of the, if you look at it, it's one of the most massive statewide operations probably that exists in the state of South Carolina because we have to have sites in all the major cities, and we have to get students to those sites on their testing days, tests. And these are students who have been home all year in virtual education. So getting them to a testing site, making sure they're on time, making sure the testing environments are following all the procedures and expectations of the state, and getting them out. So that can be overwhelming to kids, especially because it's a different environment. They haven't been with each other in person all year. And it's a challenge on the school to do it, but we do it. We had 98% of our students in grades K-8 last year test in person. That was up about 4% from the previous year. So we do it, but it is that to me, testing students has been the biggest difference because in a brick and mortar, it's easy. Get all the kids in the classroom, you get kids to school, get them in on the buses, and you do testing. You take the building and having everybody there in one building for granted and when you move to virtual environment and have to get kids to various different sites throughout an entire state during 1 month of testing.
No, I agree with you. And that's why I think a lot of virtual charter schools have this upcoming hybrid model where they
Mhm.
are now bringing in kids at least once a week to some offline event, or
Yeah.
they are also trying to partner with some schools where they can offer their property for one day.
But I do think virtual, now that I've been in the virtual education, if I were to, I hope to stay where I'm at, but if I ever go back into brick and mortar, there's things from the virtual environment I would love to take back to brick and mortar. With all the technology out there to assist teachers, educators, administrators, students, AI in itself, and the way AI is moving is a tremendous tool for students and administrators. Like I use AI every day as an administrator, my newsletters now, even data analysis, the technology tools that are out there can really help even school operations in the brick and mortar environment as well. And that's one thing I would take back if I were to go back to brick and mortar.
So, but what you just said are the technology piece which offline schools are also using it for. They're using it AI for the same thing. I would like to know what is that specific virtual virtual only tools that you would introduce to a brick and mortar school.
Yeah, so I think using online tools for everything. Canvas, we use iReady for all of our benchmarking tests. I know they use that in the brick and mortar space as well. Having a system that is dedicated to building a really strong educational environment on Canvas, having all the curriculum there, having everything from exit tickets to curriculum
Mhm.
maps for teachers. I think at a brick and mortar, I would really focus on building that out,
Mhm.
having some type of online platform, whether it be Canvas or something else,
Right.
and making sure technology, if you look at a lot of other countries that are disrupting education in a good way, they're using technology to do that.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
we need to continue in even the brick and mortar space to think of ways we can use technology to disrupt education.
No, I agree with you. In fact, with a lot of brick and mortar schools where we also work in, e- using technology becomes something optional because of the inertia that teachers may have. So even if we give them a survey form or given them curriculum digitally, because of their habit, they will print it out and hand it over to the students, which they don't need to because even students have one-to-one device. even they have the one on device. So, but still, it's out of force of habit that they do it. So I agree with you. I think having that comfort with technology, or having that AI first problem solving habit, it takes in virtual, there is no other option. In offline, there is an option. So it's easy to fall back on your previous
Yeah.
habits. Um,
Yeah. And the online environment provides uh, not only students but parents and teachers also that cognitive lift to figure out things. Like students I see in the online environment. I saw this at Toros, the soccer academy too, when we are using Summit, the Summit platform, is having students use those cognitive abilities to figure things out. Students learn more. If you just give them something, they're
yeah,
not using those cognitive lifts. Like my son, I have an 8-year-old, and it's unbelievable the things he can figure out on YouTube and Minecraft and things on his own computer stuff. So how can we also implement that with math, science, reading, where students are doing a lot of the heavy lifting in our classes and teachers aren't just giving it to the information to students?
yeah. But also with virtual, again, I think I'm trying to understand the model itself. What about the K to 3? Like, I have a lot of parents who, though have a positive outlook towards virtual schools, they don't want to do it at kindergarten to grade 3. Like, they want to do it beyond a certain point.
Yeah.
But you just said that your schools are from starting from kindergarten. So, want to understand what are the parent motivation or reservation um, at an early age in virtual school respect.
Yeah, it's definitely something that the parent has to be involved with. I see our most successful families in K3, and we have a lot, where the parent, and we call them learning coaches, is most involved with the student. So we're not a homeschool, but some might think we're like a homeschool because the student is doing the work from home in most cases. But it's the parent who wants their kid at home for whatever various reason, the flexibility, but still wants a certified teacher, wants excellent curriculum, wants that traditional school environment, but on the virtual space at home. But they still want to be involved like a homeschool. So the parent definitely has to have the time to sit with their child, help them log on. Do the various things. But I'm really amazed. Just like I said, my 8-year-old can figure out, has been able to, and this is not just my 8-year-old. I'm sure a lot of parents out there can relate. You give your kid, a kindergartner, first grader, a tablet, and they probably can figure it out pretty quick. Um, I see with our families too, our kindergartners can log on very well, first graders can log on very well, but the most successful families, they're involved. The learning, we tell our families they have to be involved in helping their kids in those early grades to be successful. But they have classes every day, just like a normal environment. They sing songs, they do work, they have there's Stride does a really great job at sending toolboxes, resources to families, so they get a kit with not only their laptop printer, but they get books, they get art supplies, everything they're going to need for the school year. So there's things they're doing, like our art class, for example, we send art supplies out. So there's things they're doing hands-on, but also on the computer. But the parent has to be there and involved. So it's not for everyone. If the parents at work are working, you can't just leave your kindergarten at home and expect them to do well. The student, the parent definitely has to be involved. And that's in brick and mortar too, right? Has to be involved for the child to be successful.
Right, right. Now I understand that fact. See, if I'm living in a zip code where there is no decent school, or I do not subscribe to the ideology of that school in my zip code, or my kid has some special needs which the school doesn't cater to, in those exceptions, I understand that I would very quickly subscribe to any virtual school which has those considerations. But if I'm in a neighborhood where there are decent schools, and the neighborhood is a wealthy neighborhood, so I want to understand from the motivation. When I ask the motivation point of view, I know those points where parents want to subscribe to such schools because their child doesn't feel a good fit in the regular traditional schools. How about the schools which have options? Do you get subscribers from there as well? And if so, why?
Absolutely. Flexibility. Um,
Yeah.
I was teaching for a short time in Tennessee at the Tennessee Virtual Academy before I moved where I'm at now. And I had a student who was a professional rodeo rider in middle school. His family traveled throughout the country to different rodeo events. So Stride, they had access to great schools where they're at, but they chose Stride School because of the flexibility. It could be everything from the flexibility to medical reasons to safety reasons to um, they want the. I have a lot of parents who have computer technology backgrounds who think this is the cutting edge of future of education in the virtual environment. Um, so there's various reasons, but I'd say the number one that I hear the most is the flexibility to be able to have your child at home, travel, um, do different things throughout the day and still do school and keep your child at home.
Nice.
And then I see a lot of middle school because I work a lot with our middle school that the traditional environment just did not work for them. I remember talking to a lot of our students in person at testing last year, and for various reasons, the in-person environment didn't work for them. So this is something different. And they were going to good schools. It just wasn't working for them. I have a eighth grader right now who travels for sports. The Stride curriculum, the flexibility allows him to continue his travel sports and still go to school.
Hmm. No, I love the
So it
fact.
varies. Yeah.
No, I love the fact that when you are explaining your school, you're not saying that everyone should subscribe to this innovative idea. This is the best solution. I love that fact that you are saying that it depends on the parents' situation, the housing situation, the family travel situation, the student
Yeah.
needs. I love the fact you're not superimposing with the fact that, hey, this is the like the way a lot of school do, that you have to get into this. This is the best thing out there. You're saying that you have to know if you need it, and you understand as a school leader, as
Yeah.
right, that what is my demographic, which may
And
not be.
that's one of the beauties of school choice. Like
Yeah,
you as the parent get to choose. It's just like restaurants. Imagine if we all like the same restaurant. Or
yeah,
imagine if we all like to shop at the same grocery store.
yeah,
We have choices, and parents should have that choice in education too. Just like when I was at Chat Prep, we're an all boys school, and we opened up Knoxville Prep, our team, and I had people in the communities say, "Well, why would you want your child to go to an all boys school?" Well, that's for the parent to decide, and if the parent thinks that environment is good for their child for whatever reason, why shouldn't they be able to make that choice?
yeah. No, I was having a similar discussion where somebody was saying that virtual charter schools will have this problem, that problem. I'm like, it's
Mm.
not your decision that first of all, any institution doesn't need to cater to all the population. So, but it's catering to certain population who needs them. So if there's a supply, the supply is existing because there's a demand. Otherwise, why would they
Exactly.
do in the first place? And that's my always answer, that it when you are um, kind of criticizing a school system, then you should not, because it's not a solution for you. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and uh, demand in the market improves customer results. So because there's multiple restaurants in a community, what does the consumer get? Better restaurants. If there's
Yeah,
just one restaurant, I'm not gonna, if there's one restaurant in the community, I'm probably not gonna eat there because the food's probably not that great. But if there's multiple and they're competing against each other, the food's gonna be better. So let the market be applied to education as well. When there's choices and families have choices, and I saw that in the Rio Grande Valley. But right before I moved there in the early days in the valley, there was no choice, absolutely no choice. You were assigned to your school. That's it. The Rio Grande Valley had some of the lowest education rates in the entire country. Literacy rates were terrible. College going rates were terrible. What happened? Idea Public Schools started. Idea started growing, opening schools in the valley. Usually, school choice was only for Austin, Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, not South Texas. South Texas was just kind of forgotten. Idea starts schools, and choice started happening. And soon, I remember when I moved there, I had never driven down a highway and seen advertisements for schools.
Mm,
And I'm like, wow, that's really incredible. And so ideas started with all kids go to college. That was unheard of in the Valley. And
mm,
they started producing those results and still producing those results. They put kids in AP classes. They put kids who didn't speak English were passing AP classes and go into Harvard and Yale. And soon the other school districts like, wow, they're doing something great. And soon you started seeing on their signs and their banners, college, college, college. They started having college signing days also, because if they didn't, IDEA was going to get all the students. So that market demand in the Valley created better education opportunities for everybody. So we're starting to see that nationwide as well with vouchers, with virtual schools to brick and mortar. And I'm not saying the brick and mortar schools, traditional schools are not good. We have
yeah,
some great schools even where I'm at here in Chattanooga, but parents should have choice.
right. No, absolutely. And like I'll tell you a funny story. So I have friends where both of them, the husband and the wife, they are travel bloggers, and they decided not to have a baby. They wanted to, but they cannot because of their work profile. And I told them about virtual charter schools, and they had no idea about it. And I'm like, this is a solution that if you want to have a baby, don't worry about it. And plus, there are a lot of use cases which I see that sometimes if I have to travel to a city for like
Yeah.
year project or a 2 year project, why do I need to stay away from my family? Or why do my kid need to switch to other school and feel out of place and then come back? Even if they want to join a virtual charter school for a couple of years and then transition back depending on the neighborhood. So I think that because the world is becoming a very different place from the work profile point of view, especially you cannot like right now, if you look at from the concepts of modern technology, whether it's Uber, the owning concept is diluting. I don't own a car, I don't own a house, a lot of things. And why do I need to own a school? That this is the only solution. So I absolutely love it. And now I want to move towards the topic as well on how you are how your model is effective. So I saw that how in Idea School also you were ranking in the 1% straight A performances. So what was the single most solution that you thought has made this academic model effective?
Yeah, so I right now I'm coaching aspiring leaders at Summer Principals Academy at Columbia, and one of the things I tell them often, because with school models today, there's a school you get off into all these various different aspects of a school, and we forget a lot of times. I remind leaders this all the time: focus on your key items, which is math, reading, science, social studies, and being able to students are able to master those contents. And I think we get away from that in education a lot and focusing on all the glamour and what next program that we can market and what looks good on a Facebook post. I'm not saying those things don't matter, but I'm saying what does matter is kids being able to read and write and do math. And at the end of the day, I know as a parent myself of two boys, I send my child to school every day expecting the school to teach them how to read and write and do math. And I want them to be able to do that. That's why I send them to school.
Mm.
So schools, and I've been in turnaround and high need schools my entire career.
Yeah.
The most successful school models I have seen and the leaders I have learned from the most, Mr. DeLeon, my mentor I mentioned, he focused on academic outcomes. Like, what are students doing in classes? What is the work showing? So when I go into classrooms, and I encourage leaders to do this too, when you're in a classroom, look at the student work. A lot of times we focus on what the teacher's doing, but look at the student work. The student work will tell you if what the teacher's doing is effective or not. And that's what we've got to, that as administrators, that's what we've got to pay attention to, because if it's not, then that's what we've got to correct. So I encourage school administrators, and I do this myself, is look at student outcomes. Is every one of your classes have an exit ticket? If not, why? Because you've got to have some kind of indication if the student's learning or not. And then use data to direct your decisions and your instruction. So having that culture of high academics, teachers following the curriculum that's standard based aligned, focus on what students doing. I tell our teachers all the time, and some of my mentors, I got this from them. Whoever's doing the most talking in a classroom is doing the most learning. If the teacher's doing the most talking in a classroom, the teacher's
Mm.
doing the most learning. So students need to be doing, and that's what I love about the virtual environment. Students have to do a lot of heavy lift on their own to be able to succeed. So who students got to be doing a lot of writing. They've got to do a lot, be doing the math problems. They can't just be sitting and listening. Um, and then strong school culture of high expectations. That's one thing we did at Prep and Chattanooga Prep and IDEA, and now at Careless. We start the year focusing on a culture of high expectations. So right now, I'm focused on students having their cameras on in class.
Mm.
At a brick and mortar, it might be students wearing the dress code or
Yeah.
having the proper supplies in their class. So focusing on high expectations and then focusing on the academic pieces. Schools got to get back to academics and outcomes, and I'm seeing a lot of schools do that, and those are the ones that have the best outcomes as a school.
Right, right. No, absolutely. And of course, there are a lot of, I was talking to a public school leader again, instead of completely disregard to this new revolution, was very positive that how it has now made him feel more competitive, and he's asking his internal team to improve and think of new ways you are attracting parents, which is going to be student outcome driven rather than being the obvious only obvious choice.
Yeah.
So
I'm a big fan of accountability, state accountability. I actually like, you won't hear a lot of school leaders say this, but I actually like the state accountability rankings because as a school administrator and as a school leader, that keeps me on my toes. Like that, that grade that I know our school's going to get, I want our families to know that they're going to the best school possible. So I
yeah,
think it raises the bar for families and it raises the bar for schools, which raises the bar for families, the outcomes they're getting. So
right.
can you imagine if I go back to the restaurant analogy? Can you imagine if restaurants didn't have a health score? Would you
Yeah,
eat there? I wouldn't. So I actually like the accountability ratings, and we've seen nationwide states that are doing the accountability ratings. Their educational proficiencies are going up, so it's
right.
working.
No, I agree with you. In fact, a lot of schools, coming back to your analogy, a lot of schools, when they say that the grading might be a reflection of just the socioeconomic status of the school, depending on how much funds they have, I tend to disagree because
Yeah,
if your restaurant is not so wealthy,
yeah.
you may generate less dishes, but your dishes are going to be great. So do,
Well,
you might live.
I saw it too. I saw it too. I lived in India for 2 years and was teaching. I taught there for 2 years in Bangalore. And something I learned when I was in India, it was all about the academics. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
the my I taught ninth graders and they were doing the very proficient in calculus. I was amazed. They taught me that those 2 years, but it from kindergarten up, and we see a lot of other countries doing this too. It's strong focused on academics and those out high expectations. Why should we and focus on proficiency? Why are we not focusing on proficiency in all of our schools? Like proficiency in a state test, especially when state tests are the lowest bar of achievement in a state. So if we're not focused on proficiency on the lower bar, what are students going to do when they're getting to the ACT, AP exams, college entrance exams, bar one day? So let's shoot for the high for all kids, not just some kids. For that proficiency and that they have a future without limits. That's what other countries are doing, and that's when I talk about being a disruptor of education. And we've got education in America has been done the same way for 60 years, over 60 years. So it's one of the only industries that's been doing the same thing every single year. We've got to change things up to get better results.
no, I can be a good advocate on both sides, India versus US system. And I can say that there's a lot of good on both sides,
Yeah,
which I want to say is, of course, academically, we are much more hardworking. But if you look at the confidence level, if you look at the public speaking level, that's not been focused. And that bites a lot of students in the way of success because they're not able to articulate themselves that well, which even if they have the competency. So I think
yeah,
that's something that Indian schools are a lot focusing on right now. is thinking of the whole child concept and not just academically rigor. Similarly, when we look at US, I see people with extremely amazing confidence of how to market themselves. The great ability to say no, great ability to ask fundamental questions without
Yeah.
being uh, without having this attitude of just scoring, but asking the deep rooted questions. So I think there is a lot of positive and negative on both sides, and the best combination is to take the best of both worlds and combine them together. So yeah, I love that fact. But I also want to understand like digital or virtual charter schools. It does sometimes also feel coming from a place of resources, coming from a place of where a student has a home, has a separate room, has a entire computer setup. So, but when I that was my basic first bias. But when I was looking at your school demographic, it was a high percentage of economically disadvantaged students with over 50 students identifying as homeless.
Yeah.
So that was something that I was very eager to ask, that how do you tactfully helping those barriers overcome in a virtual setting?
Well, Stride does a really great job at providing resources to all families. So all of our students get a laptop provided by Stride
Okay.
that they're to use, and we have a great IT department that helps with any tech needs and those things. And then we have a whole team for any students that are having any type of home issue or any issue they're dealing with. We have a full team that can support just as a brick and mortar school would have. We have a counselor, we have a social worker, we have very special education administrator that follows up with any of those needs, and our team is very active in doing so. But yeah, we are a Title One school, just as Title One schools throughout America are that are serving a very diverse population. We are too. So we have students. Not all the students have their own room. I've seen kids with doing school in various different settings, and that's one of the great things about the virtual education. You can do school anywhere, but we
Mhm.
provide the resources that they need to be successful. We don't allow any student to not be successful. We ensure that we provide everything they need to be successful.
That's amazing because that was, I think, the biggest roadblock when people think of virtual school success is able because
Yeah,
education in general has the biggest ethos of equity, and if certain solution, of course it can be parent choice, but
yeah,
if certain solution feels like a only meant for certain section of the society, it
yeah.
does feel not right.
And
So
our school does a lot in the community. Our executive director, Pam Seeger, is really compassionate about caring for the community, caring for our school families. So we have something called Careless Cares once a month, where we set up in various cities throughout the state where our students are at. And we give out everything from clothes to books to resources. We have food that day. So we're out in the community too, providing resources and really caring. And Stride promotes that nationwide as well. The customer support team with Stride is unbelievable. That's one of the things how they are able to, it shows their experience nationwide, be able to operate and getting laptops sent to families on time, IT support, setup. There's a IT support line parents can go to. There's a live help Zoom room. There are tons of resources out there for families to succeed. And then at the micro school level, we're doing things like Careless Cares in the community as well.
so when you say micro school, it means if I want to run a micro school, I can bring in kids into my living room, and Stride can still provide the technology. And is that what you're referring?
No, when I say micro level, I meant the micro level of our school. We're
Okay,
doing things, the macro level being Stride
got
K12
it.
as a whole.
Okay, I confused them with the homeschooling, microschooling concept in the first place.
I
So
love micro schools. I've seen our soccer academy was started as a micro school. It eventually evolved to later, but only started with 50 kids in a Parks and Recs building. So big fan of micro schools also.
I agree. I think one of the last things that I want to ask is about the educators. You did mention that you guys use a lot of tools, but first of all, I want to ask is about how do you build a strong collaborative culture among the staff because they don't have a physical space. Like I sometimes believe that adults are the most difficult students because they are set in their ways and they're not that quick adaptive as compared to because you will be I'm assuming most of your teachers are coming again from a traditional school and now shifting to a new model. uh, so what has been your strategy over there in hiring and engaging them?
Yeah, we have a great team of teachers this year. They work really hard every day for our students first mentality. We start at the beginning of the school year with similar brick and mortar. We're bringing in we do a new teacher institute for a week. So our new teachers have a week prior to everyone coming back, getting used to our systems, trainings, getting to know each other, and then we bring our staff back for professional development. And then we have an in-person PD. So this year it was in Columbia, the capital of South Carolina. We brought everybody in. We did some team building, social aspects. And so we try throughout the year to bring people together, but then throughout the week, day to day, I've learned as an administrator, you got to be that open office concept has to be at a whole nother level in the virtual environment, or you're not seen. To your point, the teacher's not going to see me in the lunchroom every day. So I've got to create spaces as an administrator to be able to do that. So some things I do, I send a memo out to staff with announcements. We use Microsoft Teams a lot for just day-to-day chatting. We have staff meetings where families, for teachers and families can see us. I do open office hours where teachers can come ask questions, and then we really promote the grade team level. So teachers work on their individual grade teams. They have a grade team leader where they're in constant contact with us. So we really try to create those networks of communication as well. And then we do things similar to brick and mortar. We do a lot of staff incentives. We do Teacher of the Month. We're constantly recognizing our teachers on social media. I jump in classes just like I would in a brick. When I'm done with this, I'm going to jump in some of our classes and see kids in action, teachers in action, and give feedback. Um, so it is different. You're not seeing people in the hallways like you would in brick and mortar in the teacher's lounge, but I learned as a teacher in the virtual environment, you build those relationships similar, and there's just different ways you communicate with each other in the virtual environment, but you do build really good relationships, and we try to foster that as a school, where we're building relationships amongst our team. Like my team, as an administrative team, from Pam, our ED, to our other principals and other staff, I feel like I have a really good relationship with our team, and I'm in constant contact with them in various different ways. And then the teachers too. We do in-person meetups with families. I failed to mention this, like the
Yeah.
zoo, parks, and then teachers are encouraged to go to those as well. And that gives them an opportunity to collaborate with each other, but also with our families is also.
No, I love that. If you have those kind of, I think you have thought it out through. What about the AI aspect? How are teachers taking it? How are students taking it? Because offline people have a fallback of doing it, which I do not subscribe to. And I think a lot of public schools also understand that it's not a best way to go back to real time in front examinations or assignments all the time. Or uh, and virtually, it's even harder, I would say, whether it's academic integrity, whether it is explaining kids about the possible, keeping the critical thinking skills ahead, have their individuality. How are you guys, first of all, how are teachers and students reacting to AI? And how you guys
Yeah.
are navigating about it? Have you guys done any training?
Yeah, AI is a reality. I tell our teachers and families and student like AI is here. We're not going to get rid of AI, obviously. So how do we embrace it to be a tool and a resource versus something that is negative? I don't believe, there's these conspiracy theories out there that AI is going to replace teachers one day. I think it's going to be a long time before that happens because AI can replace some of the functionalities of teaching, but can't take away the relationship aspect and the human aspect, human to human aspect. And I think that's what teachers, even the virtual environment, continue to do with our students is that human aspect. But AI, we use Magic School AI. We actually provide it to our teachers. We encourage them. It's part of that good usage of AI. They build all of their exit tickets using AI, standards align. They use data analysis AI. They do their newsletters AI, PowerPoints AI. So we're really using professional development to show how our AI can be a resource to teachers. And then with students, we have precautionary measures in place in our testing where they have to share their screen. Um, and our testing tools like iReady have thought through the AI aspect. So we can see if a student, for example, is using AI and typically they're going to finish really quick. So it flags it into the system and then
Okay.
we can call the parent and have them retest. Math has been a challenge because with AI now you could just take a picture of your phone and it solves the problem. Brick and mortar's dealing with that too. I remember that. So it's just taking the extra step and telling students, look, I know you have these tools. I know you can use AI, but
Yeah.
what's that going to mean when you go to the state test? What's
Right.
that going to mean when you take the ACT one day? You can take shortcuts, but this is how it's going to affect you in the long run. You need to learn the material. So I think it's just having those human at, talks with families and with students and just saying, hey, look, we know you can do this, but you also need to critically think and learn the concepts. This is how it's going to help you in the future
Right.
by doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand. In fact, the ethical understanding of AI has to be explicit and direct. And yeah, I think there is a lot of going on.
Yeah.
And but I'm
It's
glad.
like what I used to tell my students when I taught. I said, if all you're here for is the A, I'll give you the A. Everybody's going to pass. I
Hmm.
want you to learn the material. This is why. This is why for the future. Don't do things just for the grade.
Perfect. No, absolutely. I think I love that aspect, and I could get the overall understanding about your model. Anything that you want to add that I didn't ask?
No, I appreciate it. I encourage your listeners to reach out if they have any questions or in the brick and mortar setting, if you're navigating AI or wanting to use more technology tools, reach out to me. I can be found on LinkedIn. Happy to share any resources and encourage everyone to go to Careless Online Academy and see the great work we're doing. Our team is really trying to build an excellent academic outcome school for our scholars in South Carolina. But thank you for having me. And any way I can be helpful to your listeners, whether it be the charter school space, I was a CEO for a charter network, so board aspects to opening a new charter school. Any way I can be helpful, I'm happy to do that.
No, absolutely. Love that. Honestly, Brad, I think a lot I learned. A lot of people can definitely refer to this as a starting stone of their virtual schools journey. And even if it's not virtual, but there's a hybrid possibility if done right. COVID,
Yeah, let's
COVID,
be disruptors.
yeah,
America needs educators who are disruptors to change things for the better for kids.
yeah. Now, COVID enforced everyone to go digital, but
Yeah.
now it can be a choice.
At the end of the day, a zip code, I'll go back to what I started with. A zip code should not define a child's education. All kids in America need access to excellent schools that are teaching them to be better citizens in the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you so much for your time, Brad. I think I love
Yeah.
it, and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you so much. This was great.
Perfect.
Thanks for tuning in. For more information about TomoClub, visit TomoClub or follow us on our socials. Stay curious, keep learning, and we'll see you next time.